Hundreds of pages of interview transcripts released today by the Senate Judiciary Committee reveal more evidence that senior members of the Trump campaign really wanted to collude with Russia. According to the participants in that infamous Trump Tower meeting in June 2016, who testified before the committee, Donald Trump Jr. and his colleagues didn't end up receiving much in the way of, quote, official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary, as they'd been promised. Whether they ever did get direct help from Russia remains obviously an open question. It's the subject of the special counsel's investigation. But what's clear from the transcripts that were released today is that senior Trump officials in that meeting were extremely eager to obtain dirt on their opponent from someone billed to them as a representative of the Russian government. So much so, they apparently got angry when she didn't deliver to their satisfaction. The transcripts also show that lawyers for the Trump Organization, the president's private business, scrambled to get participants' stories straight before news of the meeting first broke last summer, and that the president himself was involved in efforts to cover up the meeting's original purpose. Don Jr. confirming reports that his father helped edit the initial misleading statement describing the meeting as being about adoption. For more on the takeaways from the Trump Tower transcripts, I'm joined by Rosalind Helderman, political investigations reporter for The Washington Post, and MSNBC contributor Clint Watts, former FBI special agent, author of the forthcoming book, Messing with the Enemy, out later this month. Let me start with you as someone who worked at the FBI and has worked in counterintelligence about this moment here, about this meeting. What it seems hard confirmed here is this was floated and they took the bait. We don't know what happened in the meeting, but what's your takeaway from what that meant?
Collusion, whether failed, attempted, or successful, is all collusion. And I mean, that's really the takeaway from it. They took the meeting under the auspices that they were going to get some kind of dirt. They seemed to be even frustrated when they did not get what they wanted, and then didn't realize they were essentially being offered, hey, this is a quid pro quo. You might look into the Magnitsky Act, and if you do something about it, then maybe we'll follow
so you
up.
think that this was a lost in translation, that the structure of the meeting was them being like, we're telling you what the quo is. Yeah. Maybe we'll get to the quid later, and they were just like, hey, what's the deal? There's no dirt.
Yeah, gimme. Hurry up. Can you do it quickly?
That's your interpretation of what happened in that meeting?
It's one interpretation. The other one is that what the Russians always successfully do is, we've talked a lot about the online game, which is how do you get, the attention of your target. But their ground game is exceptional. They created this Russian government attorney is coming to see you.
Right.
We're coming to your building of your business. It's got your name on the top, and we're going to have a meeting with you, and we will give you dirt, and we want to talk to you about the Magnitsky Act.
Right.
What's fascinating about this now is not only were they trying to taint the Clintons, but in doing so, they have now tainted the Trumps. They've created a situation where I believe the Russian story more than I believe the President of the United States version of events. They can now play this either way and influence. If they want to support the Trumps, they can. If they don't, now they've created a provocation which they can influence the other direction.
Rosalind, one of the things that seems most significant from those transcripts was that Don Jr. says that the president did contribute to that initial report. Here's a question. To the best of your knowledge, did the president provide any edits to the statement? This is the initial statement, said it was a meeting about adoption or other input. He may have commented through Hope Hicks. And do you know if his comments provided through Hope Hicks were incorporated into the final statement? I believe some may have been. What do you think of that?
Yeah, we understand that episode is of keen interest to Bob Mueller and his team as they explore the possibility of obstruction of justice, because it starts to look like there was an effort to tell witnesses what their stories should be and to potentially hide, even from investigators, what the true purpose of this meeting is. Now, the other side of that is it was a media management strategy that had nothing to do with the investigation, but that's what Mueller will be looking at.
Well, and here's another thing I found really interesting on the kind of media management / obstruction question, that this Trump org lawyer pops up in here, Alan Garten, who's kind of going to all the parties. He's emailing Goldstone before the story breaks. And there's something odd about the fact that this person is not, he's not someone from the White House. He's not someone from the campaign. He worked for the private business of the President of the United States. And he's the person who's going to go out and line up everyone's stories. We didn't know that before.
Yeah, I was struck by that as well. And one of the things that you can see happening is sort of a trading around of statements that might be distributed. And Goldstone tells the committee at one point that a statement that was suggested for him, he felt like wasn't accurate, and he didn't want to sign on to that.
There's also the question of whether the president was told.
Right.
Don Jr. says he never told his father, but there is this blocked number,
yes.
right? In between the calls to Emin Agalarov, we don't know, but that block number is something that we could learn. Someone could learn, right?
Yeah,
Am I wrong about that?
That's what's tricky about this whole time. Philip Bump's timeline in the Washington Post is just fantastic. And when you lay that out, you see two things. One, the blocked phone call is the only unexplained phone call, of all of this.
He's calling Emin. He's calling someone else. He's calling Emin back.
We don't know what happened. But there are investigators that can figure that out, and through telephonic records, those can be subpoenaed, those can be gathered. There are investigative ways that you can figure that out or hunt that down. It also becomes a question to the president. It becomes a question to the president's staff. Who made this phone call? What's also interesting is Trump Jr. seems to call Manafort, in between these segments. And you got to wonder what those phone calls were about. Was it just coordinating for the meeting, or is it also, well, does this check out? Is this something we want to do?
Also, you kind of know this world. What do you think about this?
Right. And so why would you call these people? Well, you're trying to organize the meeting, but you may be trying to figure out. And Trump Jr. seems the one person, whether it's on Twitter or in phone calls, will go for just about any opportunity that comes up.
Quickly, Rosalind, Goldstone and others seem pretty freaked out. I mean, they seem, that's one thing that comes across is maybe they didn't know what they were doing or what they were enmeshed in, but there's palpable panic in some of those emails.
Yeah, I mean, we hear from Goldstone that he actually warned the Russians, warned the Agalarovs that he thought this was a bad idea. And then when it goes south a year later, he reminds them repeatedly that he had told them that this was a bad idea. And so there seemed to be some understanding. The Agalarovs' own employee said that when he got wind that there might be dirt about Hillary Clinton involved, he thought about backing out, even though he was sort of required to be there because he was actually a Clinton supporter.
Everyone's alarm bells go off, except it seems for the people working for the president campaign, Rosalind Helderman and Clint Watts. Thank you. Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.